I made one fatal mistake. I made the worst mistake that you can make as a trader, as an investor. I did it all. I did all the things that you're not supposed to do. And well, I paid the price. Showing you guys how much money I've lost on AMC puts. And then I'm also going to talk about what I've done now that should really excite you. Should really get you to not only hate me, but really just hate me a little bit less, but still hate me, but still not hate me as much. I'm going to talk about it right here in this video, so make sure you guys stay tuned. What's going on, guys? Patrick here, and well, today we're talking about the mistake that I made with AMC. When I rewatched the video that I put out yesterday, I was like, wow, I've broken every rule that I should have ever learned with trading, investing. And the number one thing that I did wrong with the AMC trade was, number one, I wanted to be proven right. I wanted to be right so badly that I went and just did very just bad trading. The emotion took over. I just made emotional mistakes, choices by buying the puts, by believing that I was 100% correct in my thesis, in my idea for AMC to go lower. And well, today I have officially jumped on the AMC bandwagon. I'll show you guys my position here. So you can see here in this account right now what has happened. What has happened? I now own 26 shares of AMC. Now, what's interesting is I started out this account at the beginning of the week. I had $2,000 in the account. I lost $1,000 on the puts and on the calls, really. I lost pretty much just on in general because, number one, the price of the stock basically went sideways. We're at $39, $40 right now. So the price of the stock went sideways, and that was exactly what I did not want to happen. That was like the worst case scenario for me, was for the stock to go sideways, and that's exactly what happened the last few days. I bought the puts on Monday. At one point, I was up like $300, $400 on the puts, I think on Tuesday, and I should have taken profit when, I'll show you on the chart when I should have taken profit, and that's again because of the emotion and, well, just me wanting to be proven right. Being proven right is not a thesis, or it's not a actual trading strategy, because every trade that we go into, it's number one, the idea like there's a possibility that we could lose money, and then number two, how are we going to protect ourselves from losing all of our money? And well, with the AMC trade, I basically went into it with only one outcome, and that was AMC to zero. And well, you can see looking at the chart here, obviously AMC did not go to zero. Not that I was predicting it to go to zero, but we were looking for a move down to the $32 area. It can still happen. It can still very much happen. You can see this overall trend right now, this downtrend, this yellow line, AMC there at the $39.73 area, that $40 area. It's basically, like I said, gone sideways. I bought the puts on Monday when the price of the stock was $40. The next day, the stock closed below 38. It dipped all the way down to 36. This should have been my kind of, I would say, red flag at that point when it held that $36 area and squeezed back up. I should have gotten out of the trade at that point, because we have now, made us, or I would say we've established that higher low. We had a higher low here and a higher low here. So my whole entire thesis was based on one idea, that this was going to break 36 and head to 32 by the end of day on Friday. And well, it just didn't work out that way, and now the stock is pushing back up to that resistance area. Is there a chance the stock goes lower from here? Obviously, like I say, everyone always gets mad because they're like, well, you just say there's a chance it goes up, there's a chance it goes down. But at the end of the day, we really got to kind of weigh the percentages and look at this. Like, is it going to go up? Is it going to go down? What is really going to happen here with AMC? And the problem, like I said, is having that emotional connection to wanting to be right, wanting to prove a point. I don't really know what point I was proving, but I think I was just getting, so emotionally attached to the idea of like, okay, I'm going to short this thing and we're going to make money on it, right? Like, we've got to make money on it at some point here. That was kind of my overall thesis, that this thing was going to go lower. And well, this morning I closed out my put positions, seeing that we just could not break the downside, seeing that I was, already down about $1,000 on that $2,000 position. So at the end of the day, yes, 100% admit it, I have lost money this week on AMC trading options. Again, I know exactly why I ended up losing the money, not because I was right or because I was wrong, but because I was emotionally attached to the idea of being right. Going into that trade with that emotional conviction that I just really wanted to be right. Like, I'm gonna beat these people. Everybody in the comments, I'm gonna beat them. And that was my biggest flaw to this trade. Now, obviously, we can sit here all day long and argue and go back and forth about, how we think AMC is going to a certain price or this or that's going to happen. But at the end of the day, I placed a trade with real money. I went into it with my conviction, my thesis, and well, that just didn't play out to the way that we were looking for it to play out. And that's trading. That's just how it goes in the world when it comes to trading, when it comes to, price action, to making a trade. At the end of the day, you've got to place a trade either way. If you're going to buy AMC because you believe it's going to go up, you've got to buy it. If you believe AMC is going to go down, you're going to buy puts, you're going to short it, whatever, you're going to have to place that trade. And yes, I understand the difference between shorting and puts. The reason the video yesterday was called I'm short AMC was just, it was a better title than, hey, I'm buying puts. But that's a whole different story in itself. Number one, if I was actually being level-headed and smart as a trader, I would have gotten out at that $36 level yesterday. I was in the green, which is pretty interesting. I was in the green. I could have taken profit, but instead, I was just like, nope, I ain't doing it. I'm riding this thing to the grave, and I was emotionally attached to the thesis, to the idea, instead of having a level head. Looking at the chart, it's pretty clear what was going on with that 36 level bounce. That should have been a very clear reason for me to get out of the trade at that point, invalidating my thesis that this is going to go lower from there, at least go down the $30 area by Friday. And that should have kind of, like I said, if I was trading with actual, non-bias, non-emotion, if I was doing those things, then I easily should have been able to identify that higher low and gotten out at that point. And now it's funny because I'm long the stock with a thesis. This is my thesis for being long the stock, is now I've lost $1,000 out of the $2,000 on those puts. So for me, if I now invested $1,000 into AMC, I've bought at $39.47. If this goes back up to the $50, $60 area, I will then recuperate my losses from the puts. And well, I just think that's probably my best play right now, because buying options on this stock is just not working, especially with the implied volatility and this sideways action. If the stock would have hit $30, obviously I would have made great money. If the stock would have went to $60, $70, obviously those options would have been great. But the problem is when the stock went sideways, that's really what killed me here. That's pretty much the nail in the coffin at that point. You can see being stuck in this sideways channel really just killed me with the implied volatility and the decay on those options. So at the end of the day, I'll admit 100% I was wrong with my way that I went about handling the trade emotionally. Number one, like I said, I should have taken profit when it held at this $36 area. That would have actually, been a smart trade. I took the trade. I bought the puts when the stock was in the green just the other day. I bought the puts. This should have been like, okay, the next day we are below 38, and then the next day we're at 36. That was a good trade. Those $38 puts, I was in the green. I think I was up like $300 at one point at the high on those puts. Now, obviously, that's not $1 million, and I know a lot of people are millionaires here on YouTube, but in general, that was a good trade. And I could have walked away with the profit and identified like, hey, it just didn't work out. 36 is holding. It's time for me to take profit. But instead, I was so emotionally attached to being right. And in this world, in the trading world, it's not about being right or being wrong. It's about making a trade and that trade doing what it needs to do and you walking away with the profit. Like we've seen in the past, Bill Ackerman went after Herbalife, shorting Herbalife, calling Herbalife a Ponzi scheme, which we all know Herbalife is a Ponzi scheme. And I know someone's going to comment below saying like, I can't believe you said that about Herbalife. But in general, We know these things like Herbalife being a Ponzi scheme, but the market just did not accept it. And well, the price of stock ended up blowing up on Bill Ackman. And that's really just kind of how it goes sometimes. It's not always about being right or being wrong. It's about being able to manage the trade. And you can't manage a trade, you especially can't manage a trade when you're emotionally attached to the thesis that, like, oh my gosh, this is going to do a certain thing, or this is going to do a certain thing. Having that emotional conviction, attachment to the trade is exactly why I ended up losing money on AMC. I wouldn't say that it was a bad trade by any means. It just didn't work out. And that's the trading in general. Being able to manage your risk. I easily could have held on to those puts and let it go to zero, and I could have lost another $1,000. But instead, I'm like, okay, hey, I've been wrong about AMC now. Every single time I trade AMC, I've been wrong. So I'm just going to do the opposite of what I think I should do, and I'm going to buy some shares of AMC with that final $1,000 from that $2,000 trade. So we're down 50%. Let's see what happens from here. I'll update you guys as we go. You can see right now AMC trying to push up to that $40 area. We've got a lot of resistance in that $40, $41 area. And well, only time will tell from here. We will find out sooner than later, or later than sooner, or we'll find out at some point here. We'll see what happens on AMC this week. Lots of stuff going on with the stock and lots of people talking about it. So we will see. Is the mother of all squeezes just around the corner? I'll talk to you guys later on.